everybody. I'd like to welcome you on this Purple Quarter podcast series. This one's really important to us and close to our heart because this is our first series around women entrepreneurs. And today I'd like to welcome Anupama Chopra, who's been an author, who's been a film critique. Right now, she's a founder and editor for a digital platform called Film Companion. Thank you, Anupama, for being on the show. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Rupa. I don't know. I hope the things I say are interesting because I feel so out of my depth talking to people who are doing such amazing work like yourself and who are, so embedded in the sort of tech and VC culture in this country. And, I'm a film critic. So I just hope that people find this interesting.
I'm sure people will find it interesting for two primary reasons, Anupama. One is you come from a completely different domain. Second, you're doing something on digital. Everyone's speaking about being digital, right? So I'd like to take a cue and start my question right from there. So tell us, how has it been, one, as a founder for a digital platform, second, as a woman entrepreneur? How much has, being a film critic helped you in your current startup? How has that been for you?
It's been challenging. It's been a complete roller coaster because truthfully, I did not uh, start my platform Film Companion with any sort of um, real understanding of how to run a digital business or any understanding, in fact, of how to run a business. It was purely gut. Because we were, I used to do a show on Star World called The Front Row, and we produced that in house. So we had the ability to produce, and when that show, stopped, we said, okay, what do we do next? And it seemed to us, and this was a suggestion actually that came from my husband, that the most logical thing to do would be to be a digital film critic because film reviews should be available when people want them. They cannot be appointment viewing where you sit at 8:30 on Friday evenings, which is when the front row was telecast. If somebody's in the mood to see a movie, he or she should just be able to go online and say, well, what did Anupama say about it, right? And with that thought, and with this is embarrassing, but not with any business plan in sight, we just embarked on producing videos for YouTube. So it really started out as a YouTube channel, and then kind of expanded to include a website, then expanded to include several languages. So I'm very proud of that. I think what the aim always was to build a platform that looks at Indian cinema and not just Hindi cinema. For me, that is critical because I think there's such incredible work and incredible artistry that is beyond Bollywood. And I think that in that sense, perhaps we were a little ahead of the curve, that we understood that even before the streaming platforms came in and kind of leveled the playing field, so to speak. But it's been extremely challenging because, like I said, like my forte is watching movies and talking about them and interviewing artists. And sort of conveying my enthusiasm for storytelling to you, to other people. I am not very good at monetizing, at acquiring users, at figuring out all these other things that I didn't even think about when I began. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've worked with legacy media for most of my career. I started out with India Today. I worked with NDTV. I worked with Star. And this is like, I don't know, this is like guerrilla filmmaking. This is like, you know, it's like just hanging on by the skin of your teeth and hoping that it all works out in the end.
Right. I think you're extremely humble there, Anupama. The way that I look at this, right, you are such an expert in what you do. And I think there's a lot of comfort that people have with you. One, because they feel very warm about you. The domain itself, the way that they look at you is completely different. So the other things which you're discussing about monetization, I think you'll acquire people to run that. That's how I'm looking at it. But the way that the question that I have in my mind is, how difficult has this been for you post this pandemic, where you had to do everything digitally, you had to cover aspects which will probably even interest audience. I'm sure customers preferences of what they wanted to watch and what they want to listen to. Even Critic is very different, right, when it comes from an online platform versus what you watch on television. So,
Yeah.
how has that worked out for you?
So honestly, Rupa, it's been tough in terms of just again the money, because we depend heavily on brands to be a financially viable company, and it's been a very very tough year in terms of that, because obviously brands have really kind of closed, circled the wagons, and it's very tough to get any business now. What's been interesting is that how quickly we, as well as the film industry, pivoted to Zoom or to any other kind of platforms to do interviews like you and I are doing now. And that's been sort of it's been an interesting way to work, because all of a sudden we're not just limited to talking to artists who are in Mumbai. So I've been able to talk to Fahad Fasil or Mohanlal or to Ali Sethi, who's a Pakistani singer in New York. And there's a great freedom and a great kind of exhilaration of that you can bring to you can showcase so many different kinds of artists. There's also been, like I said before, the kind of leveling of the playing field with streaming platforms, and with the fact that because people have been um, contained in their homes, they're open to discovering new things. They're open to watching films which have subtitles, and just saying and discovering the incredible storytelling of Malayalam cinema, or the swagger of Dhanush in Jagame Thandiram. So I think those things were really not so much a part of our landscape pre-pandemic. So for me, that's been a real gift, and I'm very very grateful, honestly, Rupa, to have already been a digital platform. We were digital first, so there wasn't conversion in terms of that. There was not even one day when we didn't work.
Sure.
We just switched and went into working because we were digital anyway, and that was such a privilege.
Right. So these are the good sides, right? What were the difficult aspects of running a digital platform?
What's tough really is the fact that the team is no longer able to connect in person, and genuinely there's a lot of us who've discovered that we do not need to sit in offices 9 to 5 now. We are able to function in many different ways. My team is now spread all over the country, because everyone's gone back to their original homes, to their parents, because it's just impossible to live in Mumbai and pay impossible rents when you're not going to the office, right? So the good thing is that we now know that even when things are better, we'll probably have some sort of a hybrid model in terms of just working together. But what I miss is the conversation, because when it is a journalistic platform, so many ideas come from just being in the same room.
Sure.
We're tossing things around, we're laughing, where suddenly somebody will say something and it'll open up a chain of thought. And now I mean, we of course do meetings upon meetings, but we're all blurry eyed from looking at each other on screens. uh, and I miss that camaraderie, which I think journalism as a field really needs. So for me, that has been challenging, to keep the group, to keep the team in good spirits, to keep the team motivated, to keep feeling like, what we're doing is still worthwhile. It matters, even though the world is going to hell. you know, let's tell people which movies to watch. We're serving someone with something, so let's keep doing it.
Sure, sure. So, if we go back to the platform, you said you started off with YouTube and then moved on into a platform model. Would you be able to tell us how much of site hygiene was crucial to you guys, and how do you manage, to cover that side of it, specifically because you're dealing with these stars, right? And sometimes you have to maintain a lot of hygiene around what you ask or maybe what you publish. How has that worked out for you?
You know, it it has. See, I've always done a certain kind of journalism, Rupa. I've never, and I'm not a snob. I'm not condescending about gossip or, there's a place in the world for that. And we all enjoy reading some delicious little tidbit about whatever, whichever latest celebrity there is. Uh, but that's not the journalism we do at Film Companion. So we've always been about, my aim has always been to do interesting and engaging journalism around entertainment. Uh, so, which doesn't mean it's esoteric and we're only going to talk about Satyajit Ray and Ingmar Bergman, right? We're going to be as enthusiastic about, I don't know, the new Rohit Shetty film as we are about the film screening at the Cannes Film Festival. And to me, that's the great thing about what we do at Film Companion, because as a viewer, I want both. I want the Rohit Shetty film, but I also want the Cannes Film Festival. And I don't think that these are mutually exclusive. So for us, honestly, there hasn't been a struggle in terms of what we say. Sure, sometimes the reviews offend people. They do. Stars get angry, and then what happens is access is cut off, because then we don't get interviews. And you know it is what it is. You're not in this business to make friends. So you have to be truthful to how you feel about a film, as long as you're not, I think, malicious or disrespectful. You have to be honest.
Sure, sure. No, I really love the part where you're saying that, you've kept it very clean in your mind that this is how you want to play, the topics you want to cover. I think that's lovely. So, if I need to drift over a little and probably talk about, you mentioned this, just taking a cue from what you just said earlier, your team's not together. You guys loved conversations. You'd come up with new ideas. How are you coming up with new properties, new sections for your own channel? How is that working out for you? Is
you know
technology still a boon or is it a bane?
No, technology is a boon. The fact that we can keep talking like this, and that we're all constantly connected. The bane part, I think, Rupa, is going to be. I don't know what the long term impact on mental health is going to be. I know that I have very few boundaries left in my life. We're always working. It just seems to me like I don't know how to, like, at 9 o'clock at night, say, let's have this conversation tomorrow. I'll have it right then. So I think that those things are going to unfold in the next few years as we make sense of what has happened to all of us. But right now, it is a boon. The Zoom or Slack or WhatsApp or any of the many ways in which we connect with each other. We're constantly talking to each other. It's harder for me with some of the people who I'm not, like, editorial teams, production teams I'm directly dealing with. But let's say the art team, if the guys in the art team, I don't see them enough, and I feel a loss there,
Mhm.
because with a platform like this, I feel great ideas can come from anyone. Uh, and before, we would always at least once a week gather in a room and say, okay, guys, what should we be doing? And now those exchanges have become much more structured. And maybe also, in over 15 months, people leave, new people come. So now we're working with people we've never met.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
and that's hard, that's tough. So I feel like there is a loss of connection. There is definitely, but we're doing the best we can.
So I can imagine because you are in a creative field, right? It's required for people to be together. And that's one of the primary reasons why you're probably even feeling it more than any of us. If
Yeah.
you would talk to someone from Microsoft or Google, they'd probably be happier being from, staying at home and getting their work done. Because anyways, they're in meetings, right? Day in and day out. So I get
Yeah.
what you're saying, right, Anupama? So if I were to think of how do you see this entire landscape changing for you with technology? Do you see more plugins happening thanks to technology? One is you're using Zoom and the other aspects. Do you see this growing for your field? Because you have a first mover advantage, right, in what you're doing. So can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I think that. there is a real play to be made for curation. Right now, Rupa, there's over 40 streaming services in this country. There is no way anyone can humanly watch all the content. Forget 40, you can't even watch what's on one. Because there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of streaming. And so people like us who are curating and telling you what to watch, I think it's very important. I think the thing to do now is to use, and this is my struggle really because I don't understand tech very well, is to figure out the best way to deliver the content. So that's what I really struggle with is the distribution. I always say that Film Companion is like a damn good film with bad distribution. So if we could figure out better distribution channels and sort of more efficient ways to get the information. So we're trying all sorts of things. I mean, we started an Instagram handle called FC Reviews, where literally in like a 30-second reel you'll get a gist of a film for maybe people who don't want to read for 5 minutes what we have to say, or even hear for 5 minutes what we have to say. Just go to FC Reviews and we'll tell you what it is. We stopped rating films around 2.5 years ago, so we don't do that anymore because it just felt very simplistic and reductive. But we're summing up what we feel about a film. So I think the more we play with the tech, I think tech is a massive partner, and for me, that is a real gap in my sort of knowledge. If I knew tech better, I could do better because it's a key part of what we do. Absolutely.
Right, right. So, do you see how this is actually how you transformed as a founder? Before you were, you've written a book, you're an author, you've been a film critic, where you've been on the other side asking people tough questions. And then there's been a side of you becoming a founder for a startup where you are appreciative of the fact that it's not been easy. How has this transformation been for you? I'm sure these are three different roles that you've played.
Yeah. What's been interesting for me is to really, Rupa, uh, start in kindergarten again. That I'm telling you, the first year of not even just the first, like at least for a few years in those, like we're going to celebrate our 7th anniversary end of July, and I remember going to friends who were so Harsh Jain at Dream 11 is a friend and has been just the most wonderful, generous sort of person who's been guiding and trying to help. And I would go to his office literally with a notebook and a pen, and I'd be like, what should I do? Because I don't know what to do, man. And I think that is a very exciting place to be in. That's a very, when it's all, it's like learning a new language. I was not a digital journalist, right? I was my content was on television, and there's a certain formality that comes with television. We worked on a massive set, which was a standing set at Mehboob Studio. I think about those budgets now, and I'm like, man, we are poor. but the learning curve has been so steep, and to also unlearn the formality of television, just to learn how to talk differently, because on digital we talk to each other, like even interviews are like slightly more informal. They don't have the same kind of hello and welcome tone, that TV does. So I think for me, that's been extremely exciting. Like I said, Rupa, the frustration is just my absolute inability to understand technology and the struggle with monetization. But what I also like is the hustle. For me, the hustle is a good thing. I see it as something that's, I remember back in the day, like when we were trying to bring brands on board. I don't want to name any brands, but there was a brand that I went to present to. Okay, no clue how to do this because obviously I've never done it in my life. There was just this badly made deck that we had, and of course, no business head, nobody in the team except me. And I drove to a place which was about an hour away from our office to pitch this idea to this marketing head who's just looking at me very curiously, like, what is this woman? She's a film critic. She's pitching this weird idea to me for this YouTube show, and I should put in money. And he was like very polite. And at the end of it, he said, you know what? I don't think this really works for us. And afterwards, my husband was laughing. He said, listen, um, you know, maybe you should just save yourself because you probably spend more on the petrol than, on getting some. But the hustle is the joy. You have to get up and do it, and you it's also very humbling. If you have any delusions about your place in the world, they go away very quickly, and that's a great thing. I think everyone should be in that position at least at some point in their lives.
Completely agree with you. I think it's very humbling. You're right. So I do know that you're looking for partners to come and join you, right? Whether be it business or whether be it in other aspects. You spoke about monetization. You need someone to come and look at that aspect. So for people watching this podcast, I'm sure they would be interested to understand what are the few things that, one, you spoke about hustle. What are the few things that they can be excited about to come and join Film Companion?
I think it's a very unique platform, Rupa. And I mean, this is odd for me to be as a founder just praising my own work, but it's actually not my work. It's a team. It's. I think what we managed to do. So here's one of the grand ideas in my head when I started out was like Film Companion should be like the Avengers of entertainment journalism. All the finest voices on entertainment should be part of Film Companion. And I think that to an extent we've accomplished it. Our South office is headed by Bharadwaj Rangan, who's a national award-winning critic. Just one of the finest critics in the country. We have really good, solid, credible voices on Bengali cinema, on, of course, the four South languages, on Hindi cinema, on series, on short films, on documentaries. And I don't think there's any other place like it. And what I love is that the film industry takes us seriously.
Sure.
So we aggravate people, but only because they think that what we say matters. So I think if people partner with us, they come into a platform which has credibility and which has access. And those are two things that money can't buy.
Correct.
The rest of it, you will find a way. You will acquire the users. You will do all the rest of it. But credibility is a tough one. And because I've done this now for 25 years, and I'm married to the mob, access is not an issue. So I think that's very exciting because I really think there's potential here to build something, and I really want to build something that's bigger than me. This is not a vanity project. This is not about, it would be then called Anupama Chopra. This is not about me and what I want to build a really solid platform around Indian entertainment. And if we can find partners who are excited by that idea, I think it'd be fab.
No, it is very exciting. I think anybody who's listening to the show would probably want to drop what they're doing and come and join you. So here are a few cues that I got from what you just said, right? And this would probably help people, relate to this even better. One, I definitely think that the film industry has gone through a phenomenal change, and you're absolutely right that the streaming industry has actually taken on a war footing path in terms of what they're doing with the online content. And on the other end, you're right because people don't know what to watch. So a platform like yours is the go-to place for most people wondering, knocking on the door, figuring out what to watch. I think it'd be fantastic. And because you have the credibility, absolutely right, that why they should come and look at this platform as well. And how can this reach to multiple more people, masses, right? I think that will be a scale issue that someone will be coming and solving for. And of course, business can't run without monetization. So anybody who comes and joins you would actually have to look at how to make this larger than life, right? I think it's a brilliant, if you look at what one would come and do, It's not just the hustle. I think what you guys are doing itself is a lot for someone to come and take on. Right? It's a challenging assignment, is how I'd like to portray this whole piece. So for people watching this podcast, I'm sure they would want to work with someone like you because you're very warm and extremely humble. Anupam, I'm sure you've heard about this from a lot of people, apart from myself. So love the way that you even carry out how much you listen to a person's story as well, and how you carry out your, the way that you carry out yourself, even when you're speaking with someone. It's very warm. So I think that's the most important thing, which is keeping this together for Film Companion as well. People trust. I think there's a lot of trust in your side of business, right? So for someone who wants to come and join you should first understand these are the primary concepts and then have to come on board. But I definitely think this is just going to skyrocket for Companion, I'm quite sure. And for any investor who's watching this podcast, right? I think domains have to change, right? At the end of the day, people need to look at what all is digitizing, and they should look at even this specific side of genre as well. It's not just about, I'm sure, Netflix or anybody in Hotstar or anybody else who's watching this podcast. I'm sure they should consider looking at investments into your startup. That's how honestly I feel on this show. Well, I just wanted to put it out there because for people watching this, they need to know that different domains take shape in a different manner, right? So just wanted to say that out loud.
No, and Rupa, it's very, very exciting um, because the entertainment landscape is shifting so rapidly.
Right.
We're no longer at that place where it was only about cinema, it was only about certain five stars who could open a movie. Everything that we thought we knew has been turned on its head, and that's very exciting.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Like I do see that even what people are watching, their preferences have changed.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't care about who is actually in that specific series or movie.
Yeah.
It's all about content, right? And I think that will work wonderfully well for you because you understand that better. You're an expert around, what will work, what will not work for consumers who are actually consuming this, right? At the end of the day. So I definitely see that, you guys are going to be doing extremely well, Anupama.
Thank you.
That's my honest opinion.
Thank you.
And just before we end this podcast, Anupama, I'd like you to give me a couple of, before we end the show, what are the few things that you'd like to let people know? Whether they want to join you or they just want to get in touch with you, investors want to get in touch with you. If you can talk a little bit about that, it'd be lovely.
Sure. I think what's also exciting, Rupa, is that we also see we had already started to see pre-pandemic a way to make Film Companion something larger than just a digital platform, right? So we'd also started something called Blockbuster, which was an off-ground property where we actually had screenings of films, and we called artists and had conversations, and that was wonderful because again the idea was to enable a cross language exchange. So we screened Ashik Abu's Virus, and we got the cast and the director to talk about the film in front of a Mumbai audience. And we did things like that. And what we did was, because obviously all of that stopped 15 months ago, we pivoted it to a online property. So we started something called Front Row, which is like a online collective where we're doing like every Saturday. The idea is really to create communities around film and storytelling and entertainment. Now, something like this again has massive potential. In 6 months, we already have over 1,000 members, and we're doing sessions. We've had A.R. Rahman, we've had Sharmila Tagore. Later in July, we're going to have Ted Sarandos on the front row, which for me is just very exciting to have one of the biggest studio heads in the world talk to Film Companion. So I think that we are at that sweet spot between many industries and many types of storytelling. And I think that if people think that this is something that can scale, they should just definitely, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not hard to find. You can get my number from Roopa. So I just think that I feel that very keenly, that I'm in a place now where I can help connect the dots.
Right.
And that's very exciting to me, that we were able to, let's say, start talking about Malayalam cinema in a really, really sustained way uh, over the last 15 months to 2 years. And I just see, I'm not saying we did this, but I just see how much that has come into flavor now, and how Fahad Fasil is a star across the country now. And I believe that we had a little part to play in it. And that's fantastic. For me, that's so rewarding, that we are able to help people discover things they didn't know about, is just wonderful. And I hope that we can continue to do that. We can continue to evolve. My other great passion project is to create, perhaps an app, or just have a part on, maybe on just on the Film Companion website, but to have something which is, we have a label called FC Gold, which is sort of like the Michelin star equivalent. So FC Gold is decided by the entire editorial team. It's not just enough for me to like it. At least 8 people have to love something, and then it's given the label of FC Gold. Now, if you had a way of just accessing everything that's FC Gold and deciding what to watch, so we curate it so finely for you, that you do not, because studies show, at least in America, that people spend like 25 minutes on the average just figuring out what to watch.
Right.
And that's a real waste of your life, man.
Absolutely waste of time as well.
So hopefully some of these dreams will come true.
No, absolutely. I think, Anupama, what we'll do is on this podcast, we'll leave your LinkedIn and other social handles
Sure.
for people to reach out to you directly as well. And you've already advertised on this podcast that they can get in touch with me for your number. So we keep that we keep that in mind as well. I think the important aspect is for a lot of people out there who understand that there are two bits to this, right? There is also a lot of emotional side that will come in because there is a woman entrepreneur on the other side. The way you will drive this business, the way you think of making this, crafting this whole thing in a very different direction, is going to be completely different if it was only being run by. I'm not saying that the male counterparts are bad at it. I'm just saying that this just gives an additional value add with a woman entrepreneur right at the forefront. So I really wish you all the luck, and I hope that you have pouring emails and calls after this podcast for people to come and join you. One, definitely, I would wish that. Second, for people to partner with you in different formats as well, even have maybe joint ventures with you. Definitely would love that, Anupama.
Thank you, Rupa. You've been so kind and generous. Thank you so much. And fingers crossed, maybe the cinema gods are smiling on us.
Absolutely, they're smiling on you for sure.
Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you so much for being on our show, Anupama.